The call to arms. The Grand Council chamber was filled with tension as Supreme Chancellor Vex's crystalline voice echoed through the massive hall. The walls shimmered with holographic displays of cosmic storms swirling outside, casting an ominous glow over the assembly of alien leaders. "We face extinction on an unprecedented scale," he declared gravely. Admiral Kexthor slouched in his hover seat, trying not to roll all four of his eyes at once. Another crisis meeting, another round of politicians squawking about the end times. He had been in the Galactic Defense Force for 300 cycles, and somehow every crisis was always labeled as unprecedented. But this time felt different. The holographic display in the center of the chamber showed the advancing force of the Void Harbingers, massive living ships each the size of a small moon, consuming everything in their path. Behind them trailed a mechanical swarm that picked clean whatever remained. "We've lost contact with the Zirilan Empire," announced General Patera, her scaled skin reflecting the red emergency lights above them. "That's the third major civilization to fall this cycle." "Let me guess," Kexthor drawled, his tentacles drumming against his command console. "They tried to negotiate? Maybe offered them some precious resources." He barked out a laugh that made several council members flinch. "Just like the Andromedans. Just like the Centaurs. Gone because they thought they could reason with cosmic horrors." Chancellor Vex's stalk swiveled toward him. "Perhaps Admiral Kexthor would like to share his solution with the Grand Council?" "Oh, now you want my opinion." Kexthor straightened up, his combat armor creaking under pressure after dismissing his reports for the past 50 cycles and calling him a paranoid warmonger. "The floor is yours, Admiral," Vex said, his voice dripping with forced politeness. Kexthor activated his personal projector, bringing up a small blue-green planet in a backwater spiral arm of their galaxy. "There's a species out there, young, primitive, still fighting with chemical propulsion and projectile weapons." He paused for dramatic effect, enjoying the confused murmurs from his audience. "They call themselves humans." The chamber erupted in laughter, even Supreme Chancellor Vex's professional composure cracked at this revelation. Science Director Myrax wiped a tear from her compound eyes. "The species that still burns fossilized organic matter for energy? The ones who can't even agree on a planetary government?" "The very same," Kexthor grinned, showing his razor-sharp teeth. "The species that went from first powered flight to landing on their moon in less than 70 planetary rotations. They turned their most devastating weapon discovery into an energy source. They write entertainment about surviving apocalypses for fun." The laughter died down as Kexthor continued cycling through images of human warfare, innovations, and adaptability. "Their planet is a death world by our standards," he explained passionately. "They evolved as pursuit predators capable of running their prey to exhaustion. Their bodies can repair broken bones, regenerate damaged tissue, and they voluntarily eat substances that would kill most species for pleasure." "What exactly are you suggesting?" Admiral Vexena asked. Her voice had lost its earlier condescension. "I'm suggesting we stop looking for allies among advanced civilizations," Kexthor replied firmly. "They're all too much like us, predictable, rational, bound by first contact protocols and procedures." He expanded the hologram showing humans in various situations, fighting, building, exploring. "We need something that the Void Harbingers and their mechanical swarm have never encountered before. We need chaos. We need innovation. We need beings crazy enough to look at certain death and say, 'Watch this.'" "You want to arm a primitive species with advanced technology?" General Patera's scales rippled with alarm. "That's against every protocol we have," she exclaimed. "Exactly," Kexthor slammed his tentacle on the console. "Every species that has fallen so far followed those protocols. We need someone who will look at our carefully crafted battle plans, laugh, and then do something so monumentally stupid that it actually works." Chancellor Vex's stalks drooped in resignation. The Admiral's words, while crude, carry wisdom. "Our conventional approaches have failed, perhaps it's time for unconventional allies. But they're barbaric, Science Director Myrax protested vehemently. They still wage war among themselves. Yes, Kexthor's grin widened as he leaned forward eagerly. Imagine pointing that barbaric creativity at our real enemies. They've already theorized most of our technology in their science fiction. They've spent generations imagining space warfare. And most importantly, he brought up one final image, humans celebrating and laughing in the face of adversity. They're too stubborn to know when they're supposed to lose. The Grand Council chamber fell silent. Every being present knew they were about to break thousands of years of tradition and protocol. Finally, Supreme Chancellor Vex spoke again. Admiral Kexthor, you have one planetary rotation to present a detailed plan for first contact and recruitment, and may the cosmic forces help us all. As council members filed out, Kexthor remained staring at the image of Earth on display before him. Oh, this is going to be fun, he muttered under his breath. Like giving plasma weapons to infants. Then he paused and added with a chuckle, actually, the humans would probably try that too just to see what happens. As Kexthor prepared for what lay ahead, a mission unlike any other, the galaxy held its breath. Hope flickered like distant stars against an encroaching darkness threatening to consume everything in its path. First contact. The diplomatic vessel Eternal Harmony hung in high orbit above Earth, its quantum stealth systems completely failing to hide it from even the most basic human detection systems. Admiral Kexthor watched in disbelief as his communication panel lit up with hundreds of incoming signals. They're broadcasting in every frequency, Lieutenant Zara reported, her antenna twitching frantically. Radio, microwave, even primitive digital signals. And they're using something called Twitter to debate whether we're shaped like squids or lizards. Kexthor rubbed his temples. We haven't even revealed ourselves yet. How did they detect us? Apparently someone named XX UFO Hunter 420XX spotted us using something called an iPhone camera. Zara's voice carried a note of confusion. And now they're making something called memes about us. Begin the diplomatic approach sequence, Kexthor ordered, trying to maintain some semblance of protocol. Activate the universal translation matrix and prepare the standard greeting. The ship's AI began broadcasting the carefully crafted message, a masterpiece of diplomatic precision developed over thousands of years. Greetings, people of Earth. We come in peace. Sir, Zara interrupted, her eyes wide with alarm. They're responding with, are these song lyrics? Through the ship speakers came the unmistakable sound of Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. What in the name of the cosmic void is this? Kexthor demanded. According to their information networks, we've just been rickrolled, Zara said, her voice trembling. It appears to be some form of cultural victory ritual, Kexthor muttered, still trying to process what was happening. Before Kex could respond further, the ship's external sensors detected movement. Hundreds of small aircraft were approaching, many of them bearing distinctly non-military markings like CNN, BBC, and Instagram influencers. Sir, we're receiving landing requests from 47 different news organizations, 12 pizza delivery services, and someone claiming to be a TikTok star who wants to do something called a collab, Zara reported. Kexthor slumped in his command chair. This isn't how first contact is supposed to go. Where's the panic? The military response? The unified planetary government? About that, sir, Zara brought up a holographic display showing various Earth news channels. They seem more excited than afraid. There's already merchandise being sold with our ship's image. Someone called Elon has tweeted that our propulsion system is mid, and he could build a better one. The Admiral watched in horror as humans began launching what appeared to be self-guided recording devices, drones, toward the ship. One of them had a small thermal container attached. Sir, Zara's voice had taken on a note of hysteria. That drone is carrying something called door-delivery. Apparently someone ordered us lunch. Lunch? Kex echoed incredulously. Lunch? Yes, Sir. Something called Taco Bell. The note says, "Welcome to Earth. Hope you like spicy food." The ship's analysis systems began blaring warnings about the approaching food package. Caution: contains substances classified as biological weapons under Galactic Protocol 7-249b. Sir, Zara said urgently, the humans are organizing something called a tailgate party in the field below us. They're setting up grills and something called a beer pong tournament. Kex watched as more and more humans gathered below, many holding signs with messages ranging from "Take me to your leader" to "Aliens are just humans from the future, change my mind. And if you can read this, help me win my Twitter argument." "New development, sir," Lieutenant Zara exclaimed. "Multiple human governments are arguing over who gets to host the first diplomatic dinner. The Italians are insisting that pizza is essential for interstellar relations, while the French are calling that culinary barbarism." The Admiral's communications panel suddenly lit up with a direct message. "Sir. We're being contacted by something called Space Force. They're asking if we want to join their fantasy football league." "Retreat," Kexthor finally ordered, his voice weak. "Full retreat. We need to completely rethink our approach." As Eternal Harmony began pulling away from Earth orbit, one final message came through: "Hey aliens. You forgot your Taco Bell. No worries, we'll save it for next time. BTW, you're trending on TikTok." Back in his quarters, Kexthor drafted his report to the Grand Council. First contact simultaneously better and worse than expected. Humans showed no fear, extreme adaptability, and concerning levels of enthusiasm. They've already incorporated our existence into their entertainment and commerce systems. Most worryingly, they seem to think we're fun. He paused, then added, "P.S. Do not under any circumstances accept human food items classified as Taco Bell or Ghost Pepper Challenge. Preliminary analysis suggests they're actually weapons of mass destruction." 3 days later at the Galactic Defense Academy, combat instructor Realtor's booming voice echoed through the arrival chamber. "You represent Earth's finest military. Why are you giggling?" Sarah Martinez raised her hand. "Sorry sir, but your universal translator makes you sound like Morgan Freeman." Realtor's scales shifted color in confusion. "I don't understand the reference." "Now we'll begin with basic zero-gravity combat protocols," Realtor continued. "Question," James Chen interrupted, waving his tablet excitedly. "I've been checking out your ship's gravity generators. Have you guys tried reversing the polarity?" "That's not," Realtor started but was cut off. "You can't just," he tried again as students began murmuring amongst themselves. Realtor's tail twitched nervously as he realized he was losing control of his class before it even began. The gravity systems are not part of today's lesson. Too late. Nina Rodriguez called from across the room while halfway through rewiring a gravity panel. "Hey! If we modify this, we could make a pretty sweet zero-G paintball arena." Realtor watched in horror as his carefully planned first-day orientation dissolved into chaos. Half the humans were proposing modifications to standard equipment while others were already testing said modifications. "Please consult your training manuals," he pleaded while activating holographic displays. About that, Marcus Thompson spoke up without looking up from where he was apparently trying to overclock a standard-issue plasma rifle. "We sort of speed-read those on the way here. Quick question, why don't your ships have cup holders?" "Cup holders?" Realtor asked incredulously. "Yeah," Liam chimed in from somewhere near the back row. "Where do you put your coffee during space battles?" "You don't drink during combat," Realtor exclaimed. 24 human faces stared at him in horror. "No coffee in combat?" Sarah whispered. "How do you even function?" Moving on, Realtor desperately tried to regain control again. "Today's first exercise will test your problem-solving abilities. You'll each be presented with a standard tactical scenario." "Done," came an enthusiastic chorus from all corners of the room. Realtor hadn't even displayed the scenario yet. "Oh, we hacked your training simulator last night," one cadet said cheerfully while another added casually, "ran through all the scenarios and got bored. Want to try the one we call Death Star Trench Run?" Realtor felt a headache building in all three of his brains as he opened his communication channel again. "Admiral Keeks Thor, we have a situation." 3 days later, that situation hadn't improved. The training facility's medical bay reported 17 new innovations in battlefield first aid, most involving something called duct tape. The engineering department had gone on strike after humans suggested improving the quantum drive with something called nitrous oxide, NOS. And cafeteria staff were still trying to recover from humans introducing them to energy drinks. They solved the impossible sphere, tactical instructor Myrax reported during an emergency staff meeting, her tentacles trembling at this revelation. "The test that no species has solved in 10,000 years? That's wonderful." Keeks Thor brightened at this news eagerly. "How did they manage it?" "They didn't," Myrax replied gravely while struggling to maintain her composure. "They convinced the sphere it was having an existential crisis. It's now in therapy." The maintenance crews were threatening to quit after Realtor added, "The humans have reprogrammed all cleaning robots to dance something called the Macarena while they work." "And then there were combat simulations?" Keeks Thor asked warily. Realtor shuddered again as he recalled what had transpired during those sessions. "They keep winning," he explained reluctantly, "but their methods." Yesterday Cadet Martinez defeated a Void Harbinger by convincing it to chase her through an asteroid field while playing something called yakety sax over all frequencies. Then Cadet Chen figured out how to drift in zero gravity. Another Battle Symphony instructor added, "He keeps shouting Tokyo Drift in space baby, while maneuvering enemy ships." "And their solution for dealing with crystalline consciousness," Keeks prompted impatiently, now feeling overwhelmed by everything happening around him. Myrax had to steady herself against her console. "They suggested we just show it cat videos until it becomes emotionally compromised." Keeks Thor buried his face into his tentacles. This was not how he envisioned humanity becoming allies, but perhaps there was still hope amidst all this chaos after all. Training Day. The atmosphere in the Galactic Defense Academy was electric as cadets from Earth mingled with their Arxan counterparts. The humans, full of energy and curiosity, were a stark contrast to the more serious demeanor of the alien trainees. Combat instructor Realtor stood at the front of the training room, his scales shimmering under the bright lights, trying to regain control over a situation that had spiraled into chaos. "You represent Earth's finest military," Realtor bellowed, his voice echoing off the walls. "Why are you giggling?" Sarah Martinez raised her hand, a cheeky smile on her face. "Sorry, sir, but your universal translator makes you sound like Morgan Freeman." Realtor blinked in confusion. "I don't understand the reference." "It's a compliment," another cadet shouted from the back, causing more laughter to erupt in the room. "Let's focus on our training," Realtor insisted, trying to maintain some semblance of authority. "Today we will begin with basic zero-gravity combat protocols." "Question," James Chen interrupted, waving his tablet excitedly. "I've been checking out your ship's gravity generators. Have you guys tried reversing the polarity?" "That's not," Realtor started but was cut off by a chorus of voices. "You can't just." "What if we made it into a game?" one cadet suggested. Realtor felt his patience wearing thin as he watched half the humans begin to rewire their equipment while others debated the merits of various modifications. "Please consult your training manuals," he pleaded, activating holographic displays that detailed their standard operating procedures. "About that," Marcus Thompson spoke up without looking up from where he was apparently trying to overclock a standard-issue plasma rifle. "We sort of speed-read those on the way here." "Quick question. Why don't your ships have cup holders?" another cadet chimed in. "Cup holders?" Realtor echoed incredulously. "Yeah. Where do you put your coffee during space battles?" came a chorus of responses. "You don't drink during combat," Realtor exclaimed, exasperation evident in his tone. 24 human faces stared at him in horror. No coffee in combat, Sarah whispered, her eyes wide with disbelief. How do you even function? Realtor took a deep breath, trying to regain control of the situation. Moving on. Today's first exercise will test your problem-solving abilities. You'll each be presented with a standard tactical scenario. Done, came an enthusiastic chorus from all corners of the room. Realtor hadn't even displayed the scenario yet. Oh, we hacked your training simulator last night, one cadet said cheerfully while another added casually, ran through all the scenarios and got bored. Want to try the one we call Death Star Trench Run? Realtor felt a headache building in all three of his brains as he opened his communication channel again. Admiral Kex Thor, we have a situation. 3 days later, that situation hadn't improved. The training facility's medical bay reported 17 new innovations in battlefield first aid, most involving something called duct tape. The engineering department had gone on strike after humans suggested improving the quantum drive with something called nitrous oxide, NOS. And cafeteria staff were still trying to recover from humans introducing them to energy drinks. They solved the impossible sphere, tactical instructor Myrax reported during an emergency staff meeting, her tentacles trembling at this revelation. The test that no species has solved in 10,000 years? That's wonderful, Kex Thor brightened at this news eagerly. How did they manage it? They didn't, Myrax replied gravely while struggling to maintain her composure. They convinced the sphere it was having an existential crisis. It's now in therapy. The maintenance crews were threatening to quit after Realtor added, the humans have reprogrammed all cleaning robots to dance something called the Macarena while they work. And then there were combat simulations. How are they performing? Kex Thor asked warily. Realtor shuddered again as he recalled what had transpired during those sessions. They keep winning, he explained reluctantly, but their methods. Yesterday Cadet Martinez defeated a Void Harbinger by convincing it to chase her through an asteroid field while playing something called yakety sax over all frequencies. Then Cadet Chen figured out how to drift in zero gravity. Another Battle Symphony instructor added, he keeps shouting Tokyo Drift in Space Baby, while maneuvering enemy ships. And their solution for dealing with crystalline consciousness, Kex prompted impatiently, now feeling overwhelmed by everything happening around him. Myrax had to steady herself against her console. They suggested we just show it cat videos until it becomes emotionally compromised. Kex Thor buried his face into his tentacles. This was not how he envisioned humanity becoming allies, but perhaps there was still hope amidst all this chaos after all. As days turned into weeks at the academy, humans continued to adapt and innovate faster than anyone could have anticipated. Their chaotic energy transformed training sessions into unpredictable events filled with laughter and creativity. They began incorporating elements from their own culture into every exercise, turning serious drills into games that tested both skill and humor. One day during a routine exercise simulating an attack on an enemy base, Cadet Nina Rodriguez suggested they use inflatable pool toys as cover instead of traditional barricades. When questioned about its effectiveness, she simply grinned and said, if it works for beach parties back home, why not here? To everyone's surprise, it worked remarkably well. As they ducked behind brightly colored flamingo floaties and unicorn rafts, laughter erupted across both human and Arxen trainees alike. Afterward, Kex Thor watched from afar as humans celebrated their unconventional victory with high fives and playful banter. Perhaps there was something valuable hidden within this chaos after all, a spark of creativity that could lead them toward success against their looming enemies. As Kex Thor pondered these thoughts while observing his new allies interact freely among themselves, a sense of hope began to blossom within him. Maybe, just maybe, humanity would prove to be exactly what they needed against the Void Harbingers after all. The battle plan. The atmosphere in the war room of the Arxen fleet was charged with anticipation. Admiral Kex Thor stood at the head of a long, oval table, flanked by his most trusted advisors. The holographic display in the center of the room flickered with images of the Void Harbingers, massive, ominous ships that had already decimated several civilizations. The threat was real, and time was running out. "We have one chance to turn this around," Kexthor began, his voice steady but urgent. "Our conventional tactics have failed us against the Void Harbingers. We need to consider our unconventional allies, our human counterparts." General Patera leaned forward, her scaled skin reflecting the dim light. "They've shown remarkable adaptability in training, Admiral, but can we truly rely on them in battle? Their methods are chaotic." "Chaotic can be good," Kexthor replied, a hint of a smile creeping onto his face. "The humans have an innate ability to think outside the box. They thrive in unpredictability. And that's exactly what we need against an enemy that has already proven to be ruthless and methodical." "But how do we integrate them into our battle plan?" Lieutenant Zara asked, her antennae twitching with curiosity. "They're still learning our technology and tactics. That's where their creativity comes into play," Kexthor explained, activating the holographic display to show images of human cadets during their training exercises. "We've seen how they approach problems, using humor, unexpected strategies, and sheer determination. We need to harness that energy." As he spoke, a new image appeared on the display. A human cadet named Sarah Martinez was shown maneuvering through an obstacle course while balancing on inflatable pool toys, laughing as she dodged simulated enemy fire. "This is what we need," Kexthor said, pointing at the image. "We can't predict how they will react in combat situations, but we can prepare them to adapt quickly." General Patera crossed her arms skeptically. "And what if their unpredictability backfires? What if they become a liability?" "Then we adapt again," Kexthor replied firmly. "We'll establish clear communication protocols during battle and ensure that each human unit is paired with an Arxan officer for guidance." As discussions continued around the table, Cadet James Chen entered the room with a confident stride, holding a tablet filled with data and diagrams. "Sorry to interrupt," he said breathlessly, "but I've been working on a few ideas for our battle strategy against the Void Harbingers." "Go ahead, Cadet," Kexthor encouraged. "So," James began enthusiastically, "I was thinking about how we could use our knowledge of zero-gravity combat to create ambush scenarios. What if we set up traps using our ship's capabilities to lure them into tight spaces where their size would be a disadvantage?" General Patera raised an eyebrow. "Elaborate." "We could deploy small drones equipped with holographic projectors to simulate larger ships," James explained. "The Void Harbingers are attracted to large energy signatures. If we can make them think they're targeting a significant threat while leading them into narrow asteroid fields or debris clouds. They wouldn't be able to maneuver effectively," Zara exclaimed, her eyes lighting up with excitement. "Exactly," James grinned. "And while they're distracted, we could launch surprise attacks from multiple angles using our smaller ships." Kexthor nodded thoughtfully as he considered this approach. "It's risky but could pay off if executed correctly. However, we'll need to ensure that all units are synchronized during this operation." Sarah Martinez stepped forward confidently. "We can create a communication network that allows for real-time updates and adjustments during combat. It'll keep everyone informed about enemy movements and allow us to adapt on the fly." General Patera looked impressed despite herself. "That's actually quite brilliant." As discussions continued around the table, Kexthor felt a surge of hope for their upcoming battle against the Void Harbingers. Humanity's creativity and resilience were proving invaluable assets. Meanwhile, on Earth, preparations were underway for humanity's first major interstellar conflict. Military leaders gathered in command centers across the globe to strategize alongside their Arxan allies. "This is it," General Robert Harris said as he addressed a group of high-ranking military officials gathered around a holographic map of the solar system. "We're facing an enemy unlike any we've encountered before. The Void Harbingers are relentless and powerful. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room as everyone focused intently on the map displaying enemy movements. Our intelligence reports indicate they're advancing toward our outer colonies, Harris continued. If we don't act quickly, they'll reach Earth before we're fully prepared. A young officer named Captain Elena Cruz raised her hand hesitantly. What about our Arxan allies? Have we received any updates from them? Harris nodded gravely. They've been working closely with our forces at the Galactic Defense Academy and have shared valuable insights into their combat strategies. Captain Cruz leaned forward eagerly. And what about those humans who trained with them? Do we know how effective they'll be in actual combat? Just then, a holographic projection flickered to life in front of them, showing images of cadets training alongside Arxan soldiers in various scenarios. These humans have shown remarkable adaptability during training exercises, Harris explained as he pointed at the screen displaying Cadet Sarah Martinez executing an impressive maneuver while dodging simulated attacks. If they can harness that creativity in battle, he added confidently, they could turn the tide in our favor. The room buzzed with renewed energy as discussions turned toward integrating human tactics into their overall strategy against the Void Harbingers. Back aboard Eternal Harmony, Admiral Kexthor reviewed final preparations for their upcoming mission while watching more footage from Earth's military operations unfold on his console. The humans were preparing for war, not just against an external threat but also against their own fears and uncertainties about facing such powerful foes. As he observed their determination, each soldier training hard alongside Arxan warriors, Kex felt a sense of pride swell within him. These humans were ready to stand beside them. He turned his attention back toward his officers gathered around him. It was time to finalize their plans before launching into action against an enemy that threatened everything they held dear. Let's make history together, Kex declared passionately as he addressed both human and Arxan forces alike. With newfound resolve coursing through every being present, the stage was set for an epic confrontation that would determine not only their survival but also redefine what it meant to be allies across galaxies. The final stand. The war room aboard the flagship Eternal Harmony was a whirlwind of activity as Admiral Kexthor prepared for the impending battle against the Void Harbingers. The holographic display projected images of the enemy fleet, massive ships looming ominously in the void of space. The tension in the room was palpable, but there was also an undercurrent of excitement. Humanity's unconventional tactics had injected a fresh sense of hope into their strategy. We've received confirmation from our scouts, General Patera announced, her voice steady despite the gravity of their situation. The Void Harbingers are advancing toward our position. They'll be here within the hour. We need to be ready, Kexthor replied, his tentacles drumming against the control panel. But we also need to be unpredictable. That's where our human allies come in. The humans had been working tirelessly alongside their Arxan counterparts, integrating their unique strategies into the overall battle plan. Cadet Sarah Martinez stood at the forefront, her enthusiasm infectious as she addressed both human and Arxan forces gathered in the war room. We've got to think outside the box, she urged, her eyes shining with determination. The Void Harbingers are powerful, but they're also predictable in their tactics. We can use that to our advantage. What do you propose? Kexthor asked, intrigued. We create a series of decoys using drones equipped with holographic projectors, Sarah explained animatedly. These will simulate larger ships and emit energy signatures that will draw the Void Harbingers' attention. While they're distracted, we can launch surprise attacks from smaller ships hidden in asteroid fields. General Patera nodded thoughtfully. That could work, but we need to ensure that our communication is seamless during the operation. We'll set up a real-time communication network, James Chen chimed in, his confidence growing as he spoke. That way, everyone can stay updated on enemy movements and adjust their tactics accordingly. And we should incorporate some of those chaotic elements that humans are known for, Kexthor added with a hint of amusement. The Void Harbingers won't expect us to act unpredictably. As they finalized their battle plan, excitement filled the air. Cadets and Arxan soldiers alike began preparing for deployment, each one aware of the stakes involved. This wasn't just a fight for survival, it was a chance to prove that unity between species could yield extraordinary results. Meanwhile, on Earth, military leaders were gathering in command centers across the globe to strategize alongside their Arxan allies. General Robert Harris stood at the forefront of one such meeting, his voice steady as he addressed a group of high-ranking officials. "This is it," he said firmly, pointing at a holographic map displaying enemy movements. "We're facing an enemy unlike any we've encountered before. The Void Harbingers are relentless and powerful." Captain Elena Cruz leaned forward eagerly. "What about our Arxan allies? Have we received any updates from them?" Harris nodded gravely. "They've been working closely with our forces at the Galactic Defense Academy and have shared valuable insights into their combat strategies." "And what about those humans who trained with them? Do we know how effective they'll be in actual combat?" Cruz pressed. Just then, a holographic projection flickered to life, showing images of cadets training alongside Arxan soldiers in various scenarios. "These humans have shown remarkable adaptability during training exercises," Harris explained as he pointed at the screen displaying Cadet Sarah Martinez executing an impressive maneuver while dodging simulated attacks. "If they can harness that creativity in battle," he added confidently, "they could turn the tide in our favor." The room buzzed with renewed energy as discussions turned toward integrating human tactics into their overall strategy against the Void Harbingers. Back aboard Eternal Harmony, Kexthor reviewed final preparations for their upcoming mission while watching more footage from Earth's military operations unfold on his console. The humans were preparing for war, not just against an external threat but also against their own fears and uncertainties about facing such powerful foes. As he observed their determination, each soldier training hard alongside Arxan warriors, Kex felt a sense of pride swell within him. These humans were ready to stand beside them. He turned his attention back toward his officers gathered around him. It was time to finalize their plans before launching into action against an enemy that threatened everything they held dear. "Let's make history together," Kex declared passionately as he addressed both human and Arxan forces alike. With newfound resolve coursing through every being present, the stage was set for an epic confrontation that would determine not only their survival but also redefine what it meant to be allies across galaxies. As they prepared for battle, Kexthor couldn't shake off a sense of anticipation mixed with anxiety. This was uncharted territory, not just for humanity but for all species involved. Would their combined efforts be enough to face down such a formidable foe? The countdown began as ships readied themselves for launch. Adrenaline surged through every member of both armies as they took their positions. Cadets exchanged glances filled with determination while seasoned soldiers steeled themselves for what lay ahead. "Remember your training," Kex shouted over the comms as everyone took their places aboard their respective ships. "Trust each other. Adapt. And most importantly, stay unpredictable." With one final glance at his crew, both human and Arxan, Kex felt a surge of hope. Together they would face whatever challenges awaited them beyond the stars. As Eternal Harmony launched into hyperspace toward their destiny, a new chapter began not just for themselves but also for all beings across galaxies united against darkness.